All right, shut up. On tonight's episode of the Anibros, we go where no man has gone before, and we review the greatest anime ever made. About, I'd say 2 years ago, I sent out a challenge to either Jack or Laven. If they would watch the greatest anime ever made, I would watch one anime of their choosing. And Jack finally took up the call, and that's why I watched Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. You think Lelouch is a funny name?
No, I thought you were going to say Rebellion and just make up a dumb.
It sounds like it's supposed to go into Lelouch of the Revolution.
Yeah.
Lelouch and then I messed it up. Anywho, Jack, did you watch the greatest anime ever made?
Yeah.
And did I watch Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion?
You told me you watched the first season of it.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what we agreed to.
Well, I watched like 80-something episodes.
Well, there aren't 80-something episodes, there's 64, but I watched Code Geass, and I watched the whole season.
There's 2 seasons, though.
Yeah, but
seems like someone defaulted on this promise, and someone did their best.
How many episodes do I normally watch?
One.
And can I also say the first season wasn't 12-episoder, all right? It was like 30 episodes. 31 to be exact.
He does got you beat where Fullmetal Alchemist is like 170 episodes.
It's like 64 episodes, as I said before. And Code Geass, Season 1, was 31 episodes.
It was 25.
What was?
Code Geass.
1 second.
Fact checker, can we get a nod from the sound booth? I think he's saying 25.
I'm curious if you did watch 31 episodes and where the 25. Other ones came from.
No.
He's just 25. Like, that ending was really out of nowhere. The last,
it was like watching
last
a bunch
6 episodes are just kind of weird.
I don't see why the girls always fight over the guy. I mean, they just wind up making out and having a threesome with him every time. You know what I'm saying, like, Jack?
Dojins of it.
Oh, that'd be the best. Or if it's just like...
The animation really dropped.
They got a weird cliffhanger around episode 25, and then they just introduced these girls, and they're just doing something. I don't know.
I don't know. It was just different, I guess.
My main complaint was with the weird change of direction around episode 25.
Code Penis, La Douche of the Rebellion.
All right, well.
Oh my. Pizza delivery here.
All right. Jack, do you want to first hear my review, or do you want to do your review first?
I want to hear yours first.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to trade reviews? Did we already cover one of these shows?
No.
Oh, okay.
Laven, did you do one of these before? I do know there was a picture of Fullmetal Alchemist, but not Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh, yeah. We reviewed the first anime a while ago with Willis.
Yeah, I don't think either of you have seen Brotherhood.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Code Geass. Warning, the following contains spoilers on an anime that came out 10 years ago. Viewer discretion is advised. Brum, brum. Tonight, we are reviewing the anime Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion, not to be confused with its sequel, Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion, R2-D2. It's actually just R2, but it was stupid name, so I threw it. This show takes place in the Empire of Britannia, which is headed by the Britannian royal family. Now, that's some lazy writing. In particular, we focus on Section 11, no relation to District 11, which is known for its beautiful orchards in the book The Hunger Games. The loving citizens of Sector 11 fear violent terrorist attacks. The series follows some school children as they attend Ashford Academy and try to be good Britannian citizens in a land filled with fear. In particular, we follow the character Nina Einstein as she has a very professional and good relationship with the Princess Euphemia, also with Pizza Hut, a professional, normal relationship no matter what anyone says. What are you laughing at, Jack?
This professional relationship with the princess. Just like everyone should have with the princess.
How many residents of Section 11 must die before the peace-loving sector can fulfill their deepest desire to become a productive part of the empire? Hail, all Britannia!
Hail,
Hail.
all Britannia.
Xeon.
So is that a pretty accurate description of the show, Jack?
That is, of the setup. Somebody could go in watching the show knowing that. And
You could really skip into episode 10 and you basically would have it down.
no, I think you'd miss a lot of things.
Name one.
The characters.
You'd miss them? Just like...
The main characters.
Well, I already described to you Nina Einstein and Princess Euphemia. So, I mean, and Pizza Hut. All three of those characters are basically the main characters.
When you said Pizza Hut, I didn't realize you were talking about the character C2. I thought you were just talking about the presence of Pizza Hut in the
Pizza
show.
Hut everywhere. I just love you go into like some shot up city, everything's just falling apart, and you're like, oh, luckily that Pizza Hut billboard didn't get a scratch.
No damage.
And then the next episode, you hear C2. She's like, yeah, I'm just eating some Pizza Hut, filling up my Pizza Hut coupon to see if I can get Cheese Coon. And then eventually she gets her plushie, Cheese Coon, along with her Pizza Hut.
100% real.
Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut.
Don't...
That's not Patrick exaggerating.
No, I've heard all the rumors about the Pizza Hut in the show.
There is a cheese coon that she's trying to say about coupons to get. In the middle of all this, like, war-torn battle, like, political subterfuge, all this stuff, they're just like, yeah, Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Let's go to the pizza festival at the school and make a really big pizza pie.
Now, what I liked about that one, I mean, I was sure at some point they're going to show up with pizza, but they didn't. It was just they were like, we're going to make the biggest pizza ever. And then they get, what are their big, the Iron Giant, those big robots?
Yeah, Iron
the
Giants.
people get in and kind of like,
I think called nightmare frames.
Yeah, but he was making pizza with his.
Yeah.
As they're wont to do.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. But then the pizza dough, it kind of falls over someone. And it doesn't kill anyone, luckily. So, yeah, maybe the actual plot line. The story follows Lelouch v. Britannia as he plays chess and gets into the truck of anti-government terrorists for some reason. I can't remember exactly, but it was just like, hey, that incredibly suspicious truck. I'm going to get into the back of it and see if everyone's okay. I'm like, maybe you should just knock on the door.
He's
and
a real
then say,
go-getter.
hey, are there any terrorists in there? I'm going to, take off my clothes and take a shower if there aren't. All right. No, that was just nothing. Anywho, he gets in there and they're driving around. Turns out they're terrorists and they've got this bomb in the back. But it turns out it's not a just normal bomb. It's a space girl. And her name is Sisi, not to be confused with the president of Egypt, President Sisi, who took over in a military coup. Might I add, a coincidence? I think not. Anywho, if you find saying CC to be too long and arduous, you could say C2, which is better, I guess. So, old green-haired C2, she gets shot in the head.
Dead.
He also meets up with an old friend who's joined the military. He gets a shot in the stomach.
Dead.
Pretty much everyone in the town is shot and killed. Like, I'd say 99% of all Tokyo gets killed a couple times over in the show.
Just because they get shot and that's it.
Yeah, everyone lines up shot like a dog in the street.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining. So
that's
cool.
From Django when he's like, oh, no, Sheriff, you won't. I'll get back to that. Anywho, It turns out everyone gets shot, but I don't think anyone actually dies in this show because you just wait a couple episodes and they'll show up again. I don't know, especially Space Girl.
With an eye patch or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I narrowly escaped death.
Space Girl in particular, she's just invincible. That's like her shtick. And then she can give you some random power.
And she likes pizza, right? Is that the pizza girl?
She eats pizza. She doesn't make pizza. She always is ordering.
She likes pizza is what I said.
Oh, yeah, she likes it. And so she says to him, hey, Lelouch,
make me a pizza.
I'm going to give you a secret power in your right eye. If you can see people, you can tell them any command, but only once. You can't, like, come back 5 minutes later and tell them something else. So all the bad guys, he's like, shoot yourselves in the head. And they're like, right away, sir. And like, all right, well, that was quite the first episode. Everybody dies.
Oh, that was just episode 1?
But then like episode 2, it turns out his friend's alive. Why is that, you might ask? Oh, because he had a pocket watch. And that's where the bullet hit. And you're like, is there a story about how it's a bulletproof pocket watch coming down the train? Or it's just, no?
Patrick, they don't make them like that anymore. So you gotta remember.
I can't tell you how many characters freaking... the one I'm thinking of is you eventually find out that other people have been given powers from Space Girl. And one of the guys, he just kind of shows up and he can like read your mind and such if you're near him. So they go through some shtick and he runs away. And you're like, oh, he'll probably be a reoccurring character. Boom. Next episode, he's showing up, doing bad things. So at the end, they're like, all right, I'm going to have all the police, and he tells the police, show up here, shoot the guy. And they shoot him like 50 bullets. And then the very next episode, he winds up again. He's like, I'm still alive. And you're like, oh, I thought you were dead. But you keep coming back alive. And then they apparently kill him for good. Or, I don't know, maybe I just need to wait a few more episodes. There is some like just meaningless little characters that you're like, oh, they're dead. Oh, no, they just found that character an episode or 2 later. And I guess she's alive. And there's one character, seriously, 20 episodes later, he shows up again after he's been experimented on. And I'm like, who is this? Am I supposed to remember this person? They do that all the time with characters. Just like 10 episodes later, it's like, oh, I'm back. You're like, oh, I didn't notice she left, but thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second. I got to get my pizza. From Pizza Hut, of course.
Of course.
Why is it beeping?
That's the Pizza Hut alarm.
Oh. That means someone's at the door. He set up a trip alarm. This sounds like a really bad show.
I think it's good.
It didn't seem good before any of this. Like, I just didn't think it was interesting looking or good at all. And now Patrick is confirming kind of what I thought.
Except Patrick thinks everything is terrible. You can't.
That is true. That you're not wrong. But he's not making a good case for the show.
You never have anything in common with him.
That's not true. He liked Steins Gate. That's Patrick approved.
Not very much.
Steins Gate!
Patrick, was that or was that not Patrick approved?
That was. It had a good ending.
See?
Terrible first half. Just like god-awful, but the rest of it's good.
Okay.
Back to what Jack was saying. Code Geass isn't a bad show. It's not a good show, but it's not a bad show. I'm sure it's a show I'm pretty sure Laven would like. His high school self would love this show. Love it to death.
Now, why is that? I would say my tastes have gotten more toward fun, girl, weirdly animated things.
Okay. Yeah, they don't have any brother or sister romance, so that'll turn you off. But they have a bunch of robots. I mean, people, they get in the robots and they fight.
I do like robots.
There are a lot of robots that are like, oh, this is an amazing robot. And I'm like, why didn't you make 2 of them?
Yes.
But I see that in every robot anime. It's like, oh, we just made 1. And I'm like, well, instead of making like 10 unique robots to give to these 10 main characters, just make like several 100 of just one of them.
The good one. You know, the
Yeah.
one that's measurably better than all the other ones.
Yeah.
They do that in Gundam. They do give everyone a Gundam. They're like, all right, Gundams are good.
And then like 10 episodes later, they're like, oh, guess what? They found the secret technology. Make the better robot.
One problem I have with robot animes, fighting robot animes,
You have like 17 problems with robot anime.
there seem to be tiers where like the lowest tier is if you're in a tank or a helicopter, or you have anything other than a Gundam, 10,000 of those can't beat a single Gundam.
Well, yeah.
Tier 2 is like the low-level Gundams that the Rebels startup was off with. And 10,000 of them couldn't beat a single of the Gundams in level 3.
Are we talking
And
about
that's-
Gundam? Or are we talking about Code Geass still? And you're just saying Gundams as robots.
It's all by Sunrise. It's all the same thing.
Okay.
Same
Like,
mentality.
in my mind, Gundam is whenever I see a robot that's
that's
shooting
what I was
things
getting
up,
at. I want to know if that's
Gundam.
what
Yeah,
your definition
yeah.
of this was now.
They're basically Gundams in this show.
Yeah,
they're not.
and it's just, there seems to be these tiers that it just annoys me a little bit. Like, I don't know, oftentimes things should have rock, paper, scissor ability and not just, yeah, this one's better than everything else. Oh, shoot, another main character showed up with his Gundam. Okay, now we can have a fight. But until then, we're indestructible. That, I'm like, don't even bother showing up then if there's just one guy who's going to destroy everyone. Anywho, it's a show that I do think Laven would like, partly because when I think of like robotics notes, it's kind of similar in that I disliked it, but Laven liked it, and it really came down to Laven's like, there was a big robot in it, and I had to give it 15 extra points. And for me, I'm like, there was a big robot in it, and I had to take away 15 points just because of that.
If you think that it's because it has a big robot is why I like it, that's
No, that wasn't the
reason
sole
why
reason.
I don't like how Code Geass is, because the character animation or like character models and all the mech models, I really strongly dislike.
Well, it's just
And the
like
aesthetic part
older.
of robot anime is what I like, and that's turns it off for me immediately.
It's just an older show, so they're going to have older.
Well, it's not that old, and it's also drawn by like Clamp influenced or made by them, so I don't like that.
Whatevs.
I thought you guys would like it because it's kind of like Death Note, where, you know, one guy's got this secret power that he has to use.
I
but
was
keep hidden.
thinking it kind of has that vibe. The main problem is a lot of the episodes felt like after they'd gotten the episode done, someone came in and said, yeah, I'm going to need you to cut like 5 minutes from that. And they're like, what? But it won't flow right. I mean, there will be certain things that'll just kind of appear out of nowhere. And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, you know, that's what we got to do. You just all of the time get like, okay, in this probably second episode, he's somehow controlling all of the rebels who are fighting the main army. How he broke into their comm system, I don't know. But he's able to just tell them like what to do, and he's just destroying the other guys. And you're like, how is he doing this? Is he in some like special he's on like the second story of a car lot. And he obviously can't see the whole field of battle. In a later episode, it's like, oh, because he's in one of the government robots, then he can see where everyone is. But they didn't really describe that in that one. So there are a lot of times like that. I think a big episode was episode 8, The Black Knights. This is what should have happened. The girls from his school are on a train, and they say like, hey, we're going to the spa or where, you know, the hot springs, wherever the heck they're going. And, you know, one of them's like, hope nothing bad happens. They get there, and oh shoot, someone's trying to take over the place, but they're able to hide for a little bit, but then like their phone rings or something, and someone's like, hey, what are you doing over here? And then they get taken away. And then later on, you know, people find out and they come to rescue them. But in this, it's just like, hey, we're going to the hot springs. Next scene. On today's news, the hot springs has been taken over. And you're like, there's no in between. It's like they just ripped out the section there. And also, he's at the beginning of the episode, he has this like massive RV that's just sitting in some parking lot. I'm like, where did you get this? And it's like, you know, the guys at Kyoto gave it to us. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I bet in the episode it's going to drive somewhere because, they got their thing. And so later they find out, okay, the hotel thing's been taken over. And they're driving over there, but they're not in the vehicle they just got. They're in another vehicle. And they even say to each other, hey, why didn't we take the other vehicle? It's like, well, that's our headquarters. And I'm like, why is the headquarters on wheels? Why did it show up suddenly? Is this going to appear at some point? And as far as I can see, it didn't. And so they just kind of show up and, there's the government agents and they're like, oh, no, it's Zero, who's the alter ego of Lelouch v. Britannia. And he's like, hey, let me through. And they're like, no, we aren't stupid. And he's like, yeah, I'll get the hostages out. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. I'm like, he just like killed 500 of your people like last episode. You don't let him through. Like, screw the hostages. You have Zero right in front of you. He's the biggest terrorist in the country. Kill him now. This is your shot.
That's exactly how this show is. There's so many times where the show is just like, you have to suspend every shred of disbelief and logic because we want this to be as ridiculous as possible. Over the top.
So he goes into the hot springs and there are some people like, all right, yeah, you should come in. But then he's like, I'm not your friends. And so he kills those rebels and such. Anywho, so there's a secret underground tunnel of, I don't know why it's there. Is it like a sewage tunnel? It's directly below the road, so it's not for... Anywho, they put this big gun down there, which kind of shoots like a shotgun. And they tried previously to get some people through there. They saw them, killed them all. And it's like, oh, how are they going to get through this? What clever trick are they going to use? And like, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we send down our really cool Gundam that like has a shield and is indestructible? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm like, that's it? That's your plan? And, oh, what do you know? He just kind of like, I'll just keep going when they shoot at me, and then I'll win. Okay, I won. I'm like, yeah, I guess. And then the great plan was to like shoot the support beams of the building so it would collapse. And that didn't work out well for them. But then just instantly, it's like, no, we got everyone out on the rafts, even though we're on like the 50th floor. And you're like, oh, shoot, they're on rafts. And we can't get to them because, there's Zero. So we'll just let Zero get away. And I was like, what just happened? What was the point of this episode? Like, what is this? The whole time you just felt like there was 5 minutes that was missing. Something they needed to explain something and they weren't allowed to. That's the whole feeling I got from it. And then you'll look at like another episode will just be like some random Zero. He wears a mask so people don't know he's Lelouch v. Britannia. And he's like putting all his gear away. And then this cat shows up and gets this helmet, this massive helmet stuck on its head, starts like running around. And he's like, oh no. And then they have a wacky episode where they're trying to find the cat. And it's like, what is this?
The freaking cat episode, yeah.
Well, and that cat like almost doesn't do anything except near the end. There's the school children and this kind of hot-headed rebel guy. He's like, I'm going to shoot you, see? And they're like, hey, maybe you should ask this Zero guy first. I bet he wouldn't want us to. He's like, no, I'm just going to shoot you. But then the cat comes and like jumps on his gun, and so he isn't able to shoot him. And then the cat gets away, and he's like, oh, I can't shoot him now.
I thought, because that was like one of the first episodes, like episode 6 or something. So you're not very far into the series, and it's all serious political drama and like high stakes secrets and war and fights. And then he's just like, whoa, the cat stole my mask, and now we gotta run around the school and chase the cat.
They do have this weird mixture of like, oh, all the kids in the school are secretly also these alter egos in the rebellion, but then some episodes they just like, oh, they're school kids doing school kids things. And now they're killing people.
Not everyone in the school's in the rebellion.
No,
just a couple
but
of them.
a fair number. And it's just like, you can't just like keep swapping between the two. It's kind of weird. All right, let's see. What was the next episode? Episode 18. This was another good one. They're just kind of sitting there and they're like, oh, thank goodness, sector whatever India is now called. They gave us a submarine. And they're like, wow, if, Britannia found out they gave us a submarine, they'd be... And I'm like, a what? Where did this come from? What do you mean they gave you a submarine? That's not like a thing people have to give. And, okay, but why do we need a submarine suddenly? We've never used one before. And they're like, yeah, apparently Princess What's-Her-Name will be out on some random island. And we have this information somehow. Let's not go too in depth into it. Get in the submarine. Let's go. I'm like, okay, well, you aren't going to be able to fit any of your Gundams. Oh, I guess you are. Okay. And so Princess and the rest of them, they're on a completely random island. And then, oh, shoot, the rebels are here. And then they get into a kind of weird situation where there's the friend who is working with the government forces, and there's Zero, who's the head of the rebellion, and they don't know who the other is, and they're like, that's it, I'm gonna keep you here. And then suddenly this massive floating ship appears, and they're like, oh, it's Prince, he's never shown up before, this is the first time we've ever seen him. And his door bay's open, and he's like ready to shoot down at him. And then the next episode, I don't know if they're on a different island. I'm pretty sure they are, but they're just suddenly like characters are somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then they're just kind of like talking with each other for a while until they find themselves at this ruin where they pop down, and then he looks over and he sees like the best Gundam in the world, and Zero's like, I guess I'll steal that, and then he flies off, and you're like, what? Hopefully they made 2 of those Gundams. I mean, oh, just the one. Okay. What?
Yep.
It's like, it's not bad. It's just...
It sounds pretty bad.
A little like foreshadowing. Like, hey, we got some papers. There's some mysterious island that'll has some ruins, and will probably explain C2 and all this magic-y stuff, maybe that'll show up in the next episode. And they don't do that, though. And it bugs the heck out of me when suddenly some character can say, like, hey, I know, what if we had, like, a special economic zone where Japanese people could be, and they'd have, like, some self-rule, and that would solve everyone's problem suddenly. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess. And except when everything's going well, I know, he accidentally has her murder everyone, and you're like, all right, I guess that's another... God, this is the most... This show, there's no foreshadowing. It's just, you show up one episode, and they're like, oh, some people have taken over a facility. you go to the next episode, and it's like, oh, this island has magic power. And you're just like, where did this come from? Like... This came out of nowhere and is now here. And, oh, remember that guy from 20 episodes ago? We've rebuilt him. He's stronger, faster, and angrier than ever. And you're like, all right, I don't know who he is, but it's good to have him back. I love how eventually the Geass, which is basically the magic power, that he can like tell people what to do. It's kind of getting more powerful, and he can't switch it off except when he can. And so he's there, and he like just sends out a message because he's going to attack the city, and everyone's getting prepared to defend the city. And I'm confused if beforehand he controlled people who were at like vital sections, but it seemed like he just yelled really loud, hey, everybody, like, shut off the gates and let me in. And then they just kind of were like, okay, yeah, sure. And so they just click some things, and then suddenly all the defenses, like the massive wall, just crumbles down. And you're like, why was there a destroy the structure button? And he's like, yeah, it was built to resist earthquakes, but it fell down. Oh, okay, I guess. There's just a lot of times where I liked a lot of the story where it's moving along, he's building up his forces, he's meeting a character or two, they're different characters. There are a lot of characters, to be honest with you. They probably could have done with a few less, but they just kind of show up out of nowhere with some new ray gun, and you're like, I guess, sure, whatever, you got a new ray gun. So, yeah. They also do a lot of foreshadowing that eventually they'll tell us something about C2 and her past. They never really get to it in the first season. I did like the episode where they're in the cave and C2 tells him her name, but she doesn't tell it to us. And it's like, well, is that going to become important later? At some point, is it going to be like, my name's Rumpelstiltskin, and you're like, oh my, it all makes sense now. Oh, thank goodness they didn't tell us Rumpelstiltskin in that episode. This was a great payoff. I mean, that's why I just stopped at this end of the first season, where it had a cliffhanger, but it was just kind of meaningless. Where in a show, think of Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball, whatever it's called. The problem with that show is whenever people are fighting, and they're always like, I'm only using 1% of my power. And they just kind of keep battling for a million episodes or one episode or whatever. It kind of takes you out of the experience. Like during a battle, you should see both sides getting fatigued and, both sides getting kind of cut up and like some sense that something bad could happen. One could die. When you're in like a kill situation where the main character could just turn into a jet at any moment, you don't have this sense of like, I really hope one of the characters is going to make it.
Yeah, that's true. It could be a better show. It's not really that serious of a show, I guess. They kind of disregard some of the building up and pacing for just kind of shock value, I guess.
They do seem to kind of want to be serious. I don't know. I guess I'd just say if I were to remake it, I'd keep 95% of it the same. It's just whenever something was going to come up in an episode or two, I would put a little hint to it in a few episodes back or the episode before, and slowly when something occurs, you're like, oh, that makes sense. That was that thing they were talking about earlier. You can't just have the submarine show up.
Just because they needed it for that episode.
You can't just be like, oh, yeah, they're making some drugs that, and oh, the girl's mom is taking the drugs, and I guess that episode's over, so the drugs are gone now. Okay, what was the point of that episode? Oh, there wasn't. Okay, thanks. So, but truly, I think Laban would like it. If the sole reason he enjoys Gundam is because of the art style, then sure, you won't like this show because of the art style. But if you like robots fighting and you kind of like people yelling and I'm going to use my power.
Well, I like serious shows and not like some cats trying to steal some masks and some girls and guys in the high school doing their antics. I dislike that severely.
Yeah, right.
What are you talking about?
If it's going to be a slice of life show, yeah. But if it's going to be Gundam with just that in it, I don't need that in my life.
What are you talking about? Whenever I watch Gundam, there's always some people who are secret agents who are also the high school kids, and some high school girls. They don't go back to school
and go like, guess what? We're in school now, and now there's a cat, and now there's a bunch of other stuff that's going to happen and get wacky for a second.
Well, come now. The wacky stuff happened like one episode, so it wasn't that crazy.
I thought you just got through explaining how it was just popping up, and you disliked it.
Random things were popping up. This class thing would come in, and I found it a little jarring, but overall, it wasn't like stupid school antics constantly. No.
It didn't sound like it was constantly. It sounded like it was dispersed within the show. Which
from time to time.
I don't think that needs to be.
Well, it's in Gundam, so what can you do?
Not that I can remember.
I mean, it would make more sense for Gundam if they were like, hey, let's not give our best Gundams to like 5 random guys, you know,
Well,
just
that
maybe
gonna
give
win,
it to
yeah, for sure.
real
We're
warriors.
not going to defend that show here.
But I don't know. I do think Laven would enjoy it. I could be wrong, but it seemed like almost a good show.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right on the cusp. It is one I hear people talk about a lot. So I imagine if you get through all the way to the 2nd season, you see a lot of characters you've come to know and love, and some of them become bad people, and some of them die, and some of them go off and do this and that. And, you know, in a lot of anime, it's a very static character. They're basically the same at the beginning as they are at the end. And these characters definitely do change over time.
Yeah, like you say, yeah, they take up different positions and move around sides. And I can't remember if it was in season 1 or 2 where somebody makes a nuclear bomb, but that happens.
I know the crazy girl, Nina Einstein, she comes up with a bomb-like thing, but it doesn't explode.
Okay, yeah, maybe that was in season 1 that happened then.
She was a little obsessed with that Princess Euphemia, I gotta tell you.
And the desk.
She was giving her the 5-finger salute, if you know what I'm saying. I do find it a little weird, is like the only picture of Princess Euphemia she could find was in the school library. And I'm like, you would have thought she'd have got one of those and just taken it home, but no. Anywho, what do you think of is it an accurate review, Jack? Well, like, what would you add? I mean, you obviously kind of liked it.
That's completely accurate. I liked it just because I always heard people talking about it, and I watched it, and it's just so ridiculous and over the top. I think it could be a better show.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's like a masterpiece of writing or art or any particular thing, but just how ridiculous it is. I think it's a must watch just to see what's possible, you know?
There are good moments where, like, he's like, okay, we're going up on this hill, and they're digging something. And you're like, I wonder what's going on. And then suddenly the hill's being attacked, essentially, from all sides. And you're like, how's he going to get out of this one? And it turns out he's putting these kind of mine-like things in the hill. And when they exploded, it created a mudslide and took out a lot of things. And I was like, that was good. That was like, you're kind of setting things up, and you're explaining why we're going to this hill and why are we digging these things, and okay, this is why. And they do have a lot of those that pop up, but they also have a lot of just kind of random stuff that appears out of nowhere and is never explained.
Yeah.
Here's the big question. Lelouch, does he wind up with C2?
One's a man fated to live and die for his country.
Yep,
the other one's a green-haired, pizza-eating alien or ancient alien.
Witchy alien, yeah. So did they wind up together?
I don't know. That'd be a spoiler. You should probably watch season 2.
Whatever. Laban, you have any questions for us on
Questions?
Code Geass?
Not really, no.
I think he's just forcing himself to dislike it for no good reason.
Oh, yeah, he definitely would enjoy
No,
it.
I had this position before you even watched it, and I was just like, I don't.
Yeah,
care
but
for
why
this
did you
show.
have this position?
Yeah.
I looked it up before I wanted to see if I wanted to watch this a long time ago when it was coming out, and I was like, I don't like how this looks. It doesn't seem interesting. I don't
You know what
care.
I think it is? I think old hipster Laban saw that it got popular, and he was like, I can't watch it anymore.
That's
it's too
what happened.
popular.
Didn't one guy in your anime club really like it, and then you're like, nope, no, I don't like it?
Yep, there you go. That's what it was. He was like, you know what? This is probably good. And I was like, you know what? I hate things that are good. You know me. So I decided to hate it.
If you watched it, you'd like it deep down.
I'd say to anyone, if you liked Robotics Notes, you'll like this show. That's my basic. If you didn't like Robotics Notes, don't watch the show. That's my final review. All right, Jacko, let's turn it over to you. Let's flip the coin, if you will. Tell us about the greatest anime ever made.
It's about this girl who travels around the world on her talking motorcycle, going city to city, shooting bad guys, and learning life.
No,
Kino's
it has
Journey.
nothing to do with that. Tell me about the greatest anime ever made.
Oh, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
There we go. Give me some, give me some of that sugar. I am your neighbor, you know what I'm saying? Come on, give it to me. Give it to me.
It's been a while now since I watched it, so I can't do an episode by episode.
It's so good. It's so good, but go on.
Patrick is shooting heroin. It is a full disclaimer.
What's your favorite part?
I'd say that so much of the internet agrees with you that this Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is just a masterpiece. Like, you look anywhere, it just hits the top of everyone's list. Everyone just says, this is a must-watch. You talk about anime, you talk about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. This is the best show, right?
Whenever I meet random people and it comes out we both enjoy anime, they always, this is their number one show. And I'm like, I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
Go on.
So
Give
many
it to
people
me.
love it.
Yeah, and you're one of them. So that's what's so cool.
No, I'm not. I personally did not.
I think
like
we
this
should.
episode.
I think we should just stop the interview here and just kind of regroup. And what did you think of the original Full Metal Alchemist?
I didn't like the first half or the first kind of build up, but by the end, I kind of started liking it. I was
okay, that's your first problem. When someone says, "Hey, I know, we'll just go through a time warp, and now we're in Europe in Nazi Germany,"
It's not a time warp; it's a dimensional warp.
Not that end. That was the movie. I didn't really.
No, that was the end of
the
Full
series.
Metal Alchemist.
No, I kind of like the end where I'm trying to remember it now. Like he kind of killed off all of the
homunculus.
He kind of killed off the homunculi, kind of figured out the secret behind the stone.
Yeah, it's that you go into our world. And then he went into our world. And then after that was a movie about how he was in Europe. And then he got back to wherever the heck Full Metal Alchemist is.
Yeah, the movie wasn't the best thing ever. But, I mean, I didn't really like the original a whole lot until kind of the end. And then they kind of piece things together. They kind of pulled and kind of tied up all the loose ends, but
okay, well they didn't. But so for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, was it better?
I don't think it was better. It was really just kind of
okay. It was better. So go on.
There was so much just battling and fighting and yelling.
And there wasn't.
Shouting
there was also a lot of other stuff. But go on.
The first half is the same as the original.
Okay,
one.
no, that's not true.
Or
but
not
go
the first
on.
half. The first.
Okay, look. Shut up. All right, the first 30 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist happened in the first 10 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So if you haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist, those 10 episodes are going to be great. If you've already seen Full Metal Alchemist, then it'll be a little boring, but it moves along at such a fast pace.
You're saying it's still Full Metal Alchemist, so you just enjoy that what's moving on the screen is glory.
Because there are a lot of times that something took 3 episodes. Now it takes 1 episode. You really get the feeling like this thing is moving along, whereas in the original, it was kind of slow, but because it was good enough, you're like, I'll kind of tolerate that. But in this one, it was just moving along, and it very quickly starts verging off into its own thing. So no, so a third of the way through, it's already in its completely own thing.
Right. It's the pacing wasn't a problem. The direction wasn't inherently bad. The production of the anime is fine. The voice acting was solid the whole time. The animation didn't have any bad parts.
Amazing.
It's just the point of the show, the focus
was amazing.
of it.
Yeah, go on.
I didn't like it. It's not.
What did you
me.
not like? They foreshadowed things and they talked about things and then they did things. What did you not understand?
Just the whole point of it was just
what?
Anytime it started trying to be funny, a gag part, I hated.
Don't look. A lot of people hated the little 5-second gag bits in where it'd be like, "Oh, I can't drink my milk and I'm short," and "Oh, he's the Full Metal Alchemist, not him." And yeah, that was a little stupid. But they were tiny little 1% of the show, so you can't be angry at the show for this little minor thing that was off on the side.
Well, it was a little bit more than that, and
it was a little bit nothing. All right, so go on.
And it took part. It was in the middle of a dramatic part, and then they
no, it oftentimes wasn't. It'd be okay, after a major battle, suddenly Elric would wake up in the hospital, and someone would say "Hey, come on, you gotta wake up and drink your milk." He's like, "No, I'm not going to drink my milk." Okay, that wasn't but it was after the battle. It was at a kind of lull, It wasn't like in the middle of someone being stabbed to death. He kind of like throws off a few jokes.
No, that did happen.
When?
Like, in the middle of battles, people would like put
When?
on a
Give me
goofy
an
face
example.
or get hit.
Give me an example. I'm going to have to assume that you were a fool and that, just as a warning to the audience, Jackie recently got in an accident where he's had some short-term memory loss. The side of his face is kind of drooping, so just take that into account. Anywho, go on. What else did you like about the show? Great plot line. I admit that. It's a great plot line. Go on.
No, I don't like a story where like it really seems like it's for kids. Like this Elric guy.
It's not.
He's
Go
so
on.
much like, I'm the best. I always win. I'm so cool. Even
He doesn't
though I'm
always
the youngest
win.
guy.
He always gets beaten up. In every anime, they have to focus on someone who has some special something or some best at something.
Not
But he
in
isn't
every
the
anime.
best. What are you talking about? In all fighting animes or in a lot of them, even American shows, there's usually some reason you're focused on the main character. He finds some magical thing or he's really good at something.
This guy's just like, he's like a Mary Sue character. Like all the other characters around are constantly reminding him how good and cool he is, how he's got this special thing that nobody else can do. And
He can clap his hands and make magic-y stuff without forming a circle. That's not... And usually the very first time they meet him, they're like, oh, that's that guy over there. He's doing good. But then after that, they let it go. And also when he meets the bad characters, the homunculus are like, I'm going to kill you if you come too close to me. And he also meets other alchemists who think that they're all that and such. But yeah, he is a rising star, but it's not like every 5 seconds they're telling him he's the greatest character that ever was or ever will be.
I don't know, like you said in Code Geass, there's too many characters. Like, what about all the characters in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood?
There are a fair number of them. Oftentimes they don't show up like... It's not like a really minor character showing up way later. They do that sometimes. And one of the characters that was weird was he showed up in Fullmetal Alchemist, but he didn't show up in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And then later up, he shows up and he's like, do you remember me?
Yeah, the doctor.
The guy who he thought L had changed all the metal into gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was funny. It was like, well, no, he actually wasn't in the show, but that's a little homage. But for the most part, I think that most of the characters, they come out kind of slowly and they explain them fairly well. And it's not like you have to remember every detail about every character. But yeah, there are a fair number of them. But I was able to remember them all pretty well.
There's a lot of them, and just so many of them are useless. Like the two Chinese people, like there is no point. Like the show could have gone on without those two. And they could have just like cut out whatever they contributed to the story, and nothing major would have changed.
The ones that were following the prince guy around? Which Chinese folk?
Yeah, the little girl with the panda.
Oh, okay.
Like, she
shows up and she's like, I love Elle, or whichever one she loves. Yeah. If you wanted to, yeah, you could have cut out the whole Chinese angle, but I didn't think they were useless characters. But eventually he does show up. He becomes greed and he does some things. And the girl, she kind of talks about not alchemist, like alka-history or whatever that BS is. And that kind of shows up later when they go to the old destroyed city and blah, blah, blah.
I thought the opening and ending songs were usually pretty good.
Oh, they were top notch. The best in the business, I always say.
But overall, like, I don't know, I just didn't like the point of the show just because everything was battling and we gotta be friends and we gotta beat the bad guys, and, they just kind of kept running in, having these fights, and then they go explore some part, and then they'd run in and have a fight, and then they go explore a part, and it was just fight.
Well, they also talked about like an overarching storyline and who are these homunculus and such, and okay, we gotta go up to the north where... the circle is going, and they go down and, oh shoot, I'm being attacked by something.
That happens in like the last like 10 or 20 episodes. Maybe the overarching story appears Because before that, the overarching story keeps changing. It's like, oh, we got to go against Scar. Let's do that. Oh, you know what? Actually, who cares about him? We got to go against...
No. Scar, he definitely is the first part, but it's not like he leaves suddenly.
He suddenly becomes their
till
friend.
The end.
It's just like, all right, we're friends now. All right.
They suddenly realize, okay, I see what's going on, and I'm no longer, my goal is to kill all alchemists. I've changed to a new goal, and they're like, we've also changed to a new goal because of new information we're getting here.
Every bad guy they beat just becomes their friend, just like in Dragon Ball Z, you know? It's like, oh, you beat me in a fight, now I'm your pal. Also,
a lot
I'm
of
your
bad
lackey.
guys they beat, they end up killing. They certainly don't become friends, other than Greed, with any of the homunculi. Whenever they show up and there's some like bad general, he's never going to be their friends again. The Crimson Alchemist and their whole gang, they aren't friends. They're always fighting them.
No, he's the one where they took his teammates, right? Like they were in a battle, and like the Rhino guy and the Lion guy, they're just like, all right, now we're your friends because you beat us.
They beat him, but then they eventually were able to convince him, the other people killed your leader, and we want to attack, so we'll be like the enemy of your enemy. But I wouldn't say they were like good chums to the end.
They kind of were like pretty good chums. Like
no, they were like, we'll stick together until we get to a certain point. But they weren't going to be like, oh, I guess we'll follow Elric around for no apparent reason. They had their reasons, and it was that they were following this guy and he was killed, and now they want to get revenge on that guy.
I just didn't like the show, I guess, just because it was, I don't know, just a bunch of fighting, and I thought the ending was pretty dumb. Like at the end, I wish I'd done this sooner after I watched it so I could remember better. But I think at the end, it's like the whole show, it's like, all right, you got to sacrifice something big to get your brother's body back. What are you going to sacrifice? You got to sacrifice something huge. He's like, how about I sacrifice my superpowers? You know, the thing that only I have. And my big sacrifice will be just going back to being a normal person. Okay.
The exact same thing he did at Fullmetal Alchemist, the one you apparently loved. The exact same sacrifice he made.
No, I thought it ended with them being like completely different worlds, and they're like, well, I guess we're separated.
Yeah, they are in two different worlds, but...
don't they get rid of their powers because of the fact they have to go live in the non-alchemy place?
Yeah, because there's no magic in the real world.
Well, that eventually happens in the movie, but at the end of Fullmetal Alchemist, he's able to get the guy who's all metal his body back by sacrificing his alchemy.
He sacrifices his whole life, like he's sent to another dimension.
It's not that he's sacrificing his whole life to go to a different dimension. He just sacrificed the alchemy part to get his brother's body back, and he went back into the other dimension just kind of, I think it was to see what he could see, and it turned out to be the other dimension, and he was like, oh, it all makes sense now. It's an Everyone I've talked to has been like, yeah, Fullmetal Alchemist, I liked it, except it was slow, and that ending was terrible. Just out of nowhere, they're like, yeah, there's an ultimate dimension.
That was my
and
favorite
then I watched
part.
Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it was amazing. It was so fast-paced. They stuck with the storyline. It was an amazing storyline, and we just loved it. And here you are, and you're just giving me horse hockey.
You know, technically, the Fullmetal Alchemist world is really the alternate dimension because we see regular Earth in that time rift.
At the very end?
Just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I would think that the place that the show
So, I mean, the real
focuses
weird,
on.
dumb alternate dimension was the Fullmetal Alchemist universe. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, sure.
I know, I feel like I'm kind of like on the opposite of everybody else, but I don't know, like maybe this is the only anime they've seen when they really like it, or maybe they don't
I talked
understand
to
other
them,
anime,
and they've seen quite a few other anime, because I'll talk to people for a while, and they'll talk about, oh, did you also see this or this or this, and I didn't really like this or that.
You can ask a lot of people, they all love Teen Mom.
Yeah, but they haven't seen anime.
They've seen other reality shows. So
yeah, and when you talk to people who've seen anime, they've seen other animes. They don't just say, I've seen one anime in my life. And if they have, it's Dragon Ball Z.
I'm just saying a lot of people are dumb.
I'm saying Jack is wrong and a bad man.
Oh, and a bad man. That's
I remember after Robotics Notes, Laban and I sitting down, and we went through it bit by bit. And certain bits, I was like, okay, I was wrong. And quite a few bits, Laven was like, yeah, that is a downside of the show. And kind of by the end, I sort of realized, okay, I think the only difference is this part he liked and this part I disliked. But for Fullmetal Alchemist, I'm not really seeing what you saw when you saw this show. I didn't see like constant battles. I saw them doing quite a bit of dialogue, and I saw a great storyline. And yeah, there were that stupid bits where occasionally they'd try to throw in some humor, but for the most part, it's a show everyone I've had seen it has been like, this is either my favorite or one of my favorite animes of all time.
I don't know. Maybe like I should go through and like count the battles or cut out the battles, because I swear there was like 3-4 episode long battles like multiple times, and the result of them was nothing. Like both people were alive at the end, nothing new was gained or learned, and they were just like, all right, I'll see you in the next town. And then they'd go around and do some world building, which was a lot better, because in the first Fullmetal Alchemist they kept referencing these towns and I had no idea where the heck things were. But in Brotherhood they showed the map a lot and like showed where things were, which was kind of cool. But then I don't know, they always just run in and like do unimportant filler things or some unfunny comedy things or some battles, and like some parts were good, but like the majority of my time watching it was just like, wishing I could hit fast forward or like know which episode to skip to, so like the next important thing would happen.
You can hit fast forward.
Well, then the subs like get out of time. I tried.
Well, there you go, viewers. I don't know. Watch it for yourself, and then you'll know if you're if you should listen to Jack or to me in future.
We just had ourselves a Fullmetal
reviews.
Alchemist style argument where nothing was gained, nothing was learned, and you guys fought for a while.
Well, no, because every episode of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood was a gem that needs to be cherished. And except the very first episode was kind of bad, but
I feel that way about every episode of Anibros. So I mean,
the second one on, just beautiful. Just every single, especially I think it was episode 41 where the homunculus in the flask, or the dwarf in the flask, and that entire episode was just great. It was all backstory, plot arc of what's going on, and I mean, it just sets up the whole story just so wonderfully, and you're like, okay, this is the goal for the next 20 or so episodes. This all makes sense. This is what's going on. And I love that episode.
Well, it doesn't make real sense. I guess it makes sense in the show, but at the end they're like, oh, we're opening the big door. Oh, nope, never mind. It didn't open. Well, I don't know what would have happened if it did or if it didn't.
He would have become God, essentially. He would have been all powerful.
Yeah, at the very end, they're just like, oh, now you're fighting God. Guess what? You started out fighting, I don't know, nobody, and then you fought a big tough Scar Man, and then you fought, a mean alchemist, then you fought the entire army, and then you fought, like, I don't know, Frieza's final form, and now you're fighting God, and guess what? You killed them all, and then you get your brother back, and then you get your girlfriend, and you're the winner.
This is completely messed up, but viewers of the Anibros, truly, just watch this, and if you agree with Jack, just listen to all his future reviews. If you agree with me, listen to mine.
Like if you agree with Jack, comment if you agree with Patrick.
Can you like this show somehow?
I mean, I like it.
On Facebook, yeah, you can like it.
Well, no, but I mean, whatever. Anyhow,
you mean like physically? Can people physically be capable of liking the show?
There's a like button on the blog post. I don't know what it likes, but...
It likes.
Yeah.
It likes what it likes.
What are you talking about? A like button?
Yeah.
Where?
If you go to the Anibros...
www.anibrospodcast.com.
I see a comment section. I see download. I don't see any like.
Okay, you have to click on the actual one of the posts.
Okay.
And then below the download MP3, it'll say share this, and some of the options are reblog or like.
Yeah, for like, you have to log into WordPress.
Yeah.
You can put it on Reddit.
Listen, let's change it up then. If you agree with Jack, you can subscribe to our RSS. If you agree with Patrick, you can also subscribe to our RSS.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Do both of those also, regardless.
I've been watching some terrible anime, and by which I mean anime, and I'll be reviewing them soon. Have you lads been watching anything over the summer? You don't have to tell me about it. Just, you've been watching anything?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I have not.
In Idaho, at least, school's starting up tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Fascists.
Summer is over, is what I'm telling you.
That's good. I can't take the heat.
You better get out of the kitchen.
I'd rather live in a cold world.
All right. This is what we're going to do. We just need to cause a nuclear winter.
There's a large
by dropping
wall.
a colony into the earth. Who's with me?
Jack, I did see on the Twitter.
Some top-notch tweets is what you're about to say?
Nope.
Are we still recording?
I am, yeah.
I was on the YouTube and I saw a video from somebody who had like the 10 most underrated or underappreciated anime or something like that.
Sure.
And he's going through them, and some of them, I just haven't ever heard of. Some of them, like, no, that's awful. That's a bad anime. That's not underappreciated. That is as appreciated as it needs to be. Okay.
All right.
And then at the very end, he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't found any good anime to review. I guess I just haven't come across anything that was like really good, really stuck out like it. But this new Monster Girls anime, it might be good enough that I'm going to review it." I'm like, what are you talking about? That was a terrible, terrible anime.
Yeah, most people have terrible taste in anime.
Maybe we're the problem.